Can you say hello?
Hi.
Hi. Okay, your microphone sounds good. You look fabulous, and it's great to see you this evening.
Good to see you.
And I'm going to, what's going to happen is I'm going to have some slides, but I expect that what I really want, and anybody can help us with that is great, is I probably want people to pin Gloria and Ted. Somehow I would like us to be.
And here's how you do that. That the rest of us turn off our video, and Ted, you say, there's a command where you can say, everybody who's not showing video doesn't show up. The panelists who are not showing video won't show up.
How do I do that?
I'm not a co-host.
Yeah, hide non-video participants or something like that.
Yeah,
Right.
That is in my participant.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Oh, perfect, Nancy.
Okay, I'm going to make myself a non-video.
Is that right? I do nothing.
Yeah.
You do nothing, Gloria. You are perfect.
But we will start with about 5 minutes of me introducing a variety of things about our organization and about what we're doing as an organization, and then we will move on to talking with you.
Organization.
What?
What organization?
Yeah.
If I.
All right, great. We'll find out what we say as we go. It'll be a discovery. Okay. And we seem to have 6 panelists and no attendees. What do you think that's about?
Have we started the webinar?
Time difference.
Says you're in practice
Start the
session.
webinar now. That's it. Thank you.
There are many switches to turn on.
I know, and when I kind of lose my mind when I'm trying to be the person on stage too.
Beautiful.
Okay. Now we're gonna wait. I'm gonna for about 2 minutes. And Gloria, I've got a few slides, pictures of things. I've also got. I probably won't play too much video, but I'll play a little bit of video maybe about the Confocal Microscope and also some piano, I hope. And yeah, and we're just gonna open some cookies. Now we seem to have 3 other people.
I see a good friend on there.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, Whit Diffie.
Oh, I don't see him.
You won't be able to see him, but I
No.
can see his name, Mike Travers. Oh my God, this is a who's who of wonderful friends.
Yeah. These are all people that know you, Gloria.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. And then some that won't, I'm sure. So we're gonna wait about 2 more minutes, I think. Just wanna see this attendee list go up, but I'm very happy to see people here. And we're thinking about getting ready for our program for April. We had a little bit of a party on Saturday night, and it was very intimate. There were just a couple of us at different times, but we had some nice conversation. I learned some things. And after we get to maybe a couple more attendees, maybe we'll go live. Does anyone know there was a dinner this evening with Edwin Lee and people?
I was not able to be there. We have about 16 pre-registrants. So I think you could probably go ahead and people will be coming in after the announcements, right?
Right. Okay, that's just fine. Okay, well, good evening. This is Bay Kai, and we have a program on a monthly basis. This evening, we're going to be interviewing Gloria Minsky, co-traveling with Marvin Minsky. Marvin Minsky, as some of you know, was a person that generated lots of invention and was around the HCI community, working at the Media Lab for many, many years. But he started really one of the founders of the field of artificial intelligence. And so
It was named in 1956.
there, yes, it was. And so that's Gloria Minsky. She's going to be piping up, hopefully more than me. Within Bake High, we have an organization that is run by volunteers. And if you look on here, we'd love to have a content wrangler for the web that would bring our some of our content up to date. We'd like to have a social media publicity chair, a dinner coordinator. So if there's anything you want to do as a volunteer, please just, I call them Bake High creators, just send a message to volunteer@bakehigh.org. But I also want to say a few things about the organization. We are part of the Association for Computing Machinery, and there are Chi local chapters all over the world. And we historically have been the biggest. At times we've had up to 1,200 people in our organization. Not so many right now. And we have a meeting every second Tuesday of the month. And then we have a steering committee. You'll see it on our bakehigh.org website also. And that steering committee is anybody that's interested in helping organize the organization. Okay. And so, yes, if you look at the bakehigh.org, there's some of our videos of our past talks are very, very exciting. So I'm just going to move on to introducing the evening. And basically, this is going to be a conversation with Gloria Minsky. And Gloria, you recognize this room. What's it like to be the Minskys?
The miniature of what I'm actually looking at.
Okay. Can you see? Well, you're looking at a picture of your living room. Maybe you have it open in that way.
Yeah.
So this room I think of as it was, anyway, whenever I got to be there, it was a wonderful place to be. Lots of interesting people. What do you think of as happening in this room?
Are you talking to me? No,
Yes, I am talking to you, Gloria. What are some things you think of when you think of this room?
Oh, well, it's the room I like to see people in because it's the one that sort of stays without too much of a mess.
But there is a bit, and I know that Julia, who is on the phone actually listening, had a friend who was an artist. Her mother was an artist, and can you say something about that person in the left
Yes,
corner, that big sculpture?
that is a paper mache sculpture. Otherwise, it would probably fall through the floor. It weighs 200 pounds, and it didn't sell in New York, so it got up here, and it was made by excuse me, the mother of one of Julie's good friends, Laura, and Joanna. Anyway, so you can't see it really, although I'm pointing to the leg, but what would be the leg on the right as you look at it, which would, I guess, be the left leg if you did it correctly. There are some pictures of Laura's daughter, who is a good friend of Julie's, and Julie. And I'm not sure, a couple of other kids are there that they don't know, but the ones I know are Julie and Laura, and they're mostly in the left leg. And if you need to get up close to see them, it's rather subtle. And this didn't sell in New York, so it got hauled up here, and I decided it would be nice to have it as an album.
So kind of a photo album of Julie, right?
A photo album of Julie and a couple of friends.
Yeah.
So
And I noticed there's two pianos that I can see in this room, but I actually think of this room as having even more pianos. Can you say how many pianos are in your house? What?
It used to have one more piano.
Ah,
It's not there anymore because it's at Julie's house,
oh,
California.
so the
So-
upright Steinway is at Julie's house, right?
So there was an upright Steinway near the door, sort of between the door that you can see on the right of this and the grand piano.
Yeah.
And
And
that's-
that rope,
Ted, I loved it because it sounded really cheerful, but apparently that's not a good sound for a piano because the real piano connoisseurs think it's too bright, which I apparently have bad taste in pianos, so I'm very lucky.
there you go. Well, I remember that Marvin would play it and it was delightful that way too. I also remember, well, there's that rope you see in the ceiling, everybody, and
Oh,
that
yeah.
was a swing, I think, right?
It's a trapeze.
Yeah. And Margaret went on to actually get involved with almost professional trapeze work, right?
Right, right. Yeah, and it
Martin-
was in a circus group in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
No, yeah, New Hampshire, no, Vermont, Brattleboro. So and she got linked up with she ran away to the circus for a little while. Well, she didn't really run, she just took lessons every couple of weeks. She became a good trapezist, if you call.
And for those of you that don't know Margaret, she's a celebrated HCI researcher and did a very nice thesis on haptics. She's the daughter of Gloria and Marvin. This room looks neater than I'm used to. I remember a tuba under this table. I mean, under this.
There.
And
Oh, yeah, but it's kind of toward the back. You can't see it, but it's there. And there's an accordion, a new thing that I found when I sold my home down at the beach. And there's an accordion in front of the tuba, so you can't see the tuba. So
sure. And then also, I mean, you told me that it's very rare, but for some reason, once when I came over, this articulated robot that had all these joints, Marvin showed me in that room, maybe the first time I was there, and I was just delighted to see that. Anyway, that room was a place where a lot of things happened, and bricolage sculpture too, as I put at the top of this slide. I'm just, do you want to, I mean, how often did you like to have people over to discuss things, would you say?
every week. At least a party a month usually on a Friday or Saturday night. And we like, Marvin liked the parties, I liked the parties. And usually about 20 people came. It was lovely. We enjoyed that.
Yeah, well, and
More people.
yeah, that's right. And what can you give some names of some of the people that you that were there early on or more recently? I don't care.
Well, the MIT crowd, Danny, Hillis, Sussman, Once in a Blue Moon, and a bunch of people from the Media Lab.
Sure.
I'll think of all the names.
Yeah. No, lots of people. So there's now on this slide, for those of you that are looking, there's 3 videos. One, and you can find them very easily, just a talk by Gloria Rudish at EG. It's a lovely talk she gave about Marvin that we were thinking of presenting here, but I don't think we want to watch 20 minutes of video. And then there's a nice one of her reflecting on things, and it kind of talks about, how John von Neumann was in their life, and Skinner and various people that you would have heard of. Of course, Seymour Papert wrote a book with Marvin and stuff. And then there's another video, a third video here, Lifestyle by Design, you can look up again, which in which Gloria is speaking also with Marvin in the room. So although I would say Marvin has given 10,000 lectures, Gloria's given a few too.
10.
Now, what I was going to do at this point is these cookies here. This one of the things that Marvin liked was going to Chinese restaurants and you too, I think. But in his memorial, somebody packaged up some cookies, these particular ones with Marvinisms in it. And this one says, "There's nothing as scary as everyone believing the same thing."
Oh, I like that one.
Here, we'll open one more just for the fun of it. We might as well see what else he had to say. And if you can think of when you remember him saying that, that's also.
Stop sharing for a minute so we can see the cookies.
Okay, all right. Let me stop sharing for a minute. So here,
Now the breaking of the cookie.
there's a cookie, and inside this cookie, it's very hard to get. If we're lucky, maybe they'll keep us as pets. So the point of that one is that that there will be a time when we have to be humble because the robots will take over.
That's good. That's good.
Maybe one more, or should we move on? Let's see. We'll have one more. Maybe three.
3 is always a good number, you know.
Yeah. So they're so that. By the way, these are a little bit rancid, given that they've been around.
Right. I was going to warn you not to eat them.
Yeah, I thought of eating them, but it's okay. So now, let's see. You can pull something with a string, but you can't push it.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. I don't know. I think of things that he said. He would say "golly" all the time, what it was a way of making an exclamation that would, I think, was designed to draw people out a little bit, as opposed to criticize or emphasize something. It would draw people out, and I think I don't know.
I didn't. What was
Golly, he would say golly.
Golly, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I think that he said a lot of things to try to encourage other people to think and have ideas also.
Yeah, he said you have to enjoy making mistakes.
There you go.
So I learned to enjoy making mistakes. That was too bad.
Well, I don't know how many mistakes you make, but Gloria still is a practicing physician, actually. So you're probably the oldest practicing physician in the country, aren't you?
Semi-retired.
Yeah, well. Okay, so I guess I will show a little list of some of the books and papers that Marvin wrote. It's funny. It didn't seem like he always acted like he has time available to hang out and talk, but he seems to have written more books than the rest of us. Here's 7.
I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I have them in a pile.
So they're in a pile right there where you are, right?
Right on the piano. I can see them. I don't know if I.
No.
Now, I think I'm going to leave well enough alone.
I think that's fine for you to leave well enough alone. But what we discovered, Julia and I and you were having a little conversation last night, and we were talking about the doodles you used to do. Could you say something about your doodling?
Oh, yeah. When we had breakfast or lunch together or something, and I used to sit there with a piece of paper, and I'd do things like inverted pieces, inverted geometric figures and
Yeah.
stuff. And one day I said, oh, he's probably tired of me, seeing me do this. And he said, no, I like it. So he seemed to enjoy when I sat there and did penmanship progressions. I didn't understand why he liked it exactly, but I never really asked him, interviewed out why he enjoyed it. But as long as he enjoyed it, I like to doodle. So I have pages of doodling.
That's
Most
great.
of it I have thrown out, but I saved some.
Well, my understanding is that maybe this inspired the cover of the Perceptrons book there that we're looking at.
Could be.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask you about is your relationship with Marvin's writing. You've told me a little bit about that. I just kind of like
One was he showed it to me, another was I picked it out of the basket. So
yeah.
he did show me what he wrote, and I sometimes make some little editorial correction, and he's very sweet. And, if he thought it was good, he incorporated it. And if I made some grammatical change that was reasonable, that, he used it. But often everything was dated. So sometimes he'd do pages and pages and pages of stuff, and then he'd throw them in the basket. And I must say, I have about 4 boxes of rescued things, which are all dated. So if anyone ever wants to really do a biography, I have raw material and I'll give it to them.
Well, I know that you also discovered that Margaret discovered a lot of his original music that she then turned into something more, right?
Yeah, I have some stacks of recorded music. I'm not gonna, if I turn the thing around, I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. Let's leave it. Let's leave it.
There's a tape recorder with actual tapes. It's not just little cassettes, it's these actual tapes. And I have a pile of those which need to get listened to because they're not all full, and some of them have been spliced, and I'm afraid to really work on them unless I have somebody who really knows, what to do and how to rescue any spliced areas and so on. So I have a stack of those. Marvin's improv, mostly he improvised. He would sit down at the piano and improvise.
Right. And so when we talk about improvisation, I kind of wanted to bring up that I've heard that you might even be taking an improvisation training of some sort. Is this, or maybe you guys are?
I'm doing acting improv.
So that's pretty interesting. Is this, how often do you get together with people to try that, or what?
I attend a class at Brookline High School. And yeah, that's fine. And I've done 2 separate things in conjunction with, one in conjunction with a very nice young woman who was doing a doctoral thesis, and she needed some dramatic, some little dramatic thing. So I did some improv there. But I see a notice about Dr. Gloria Rouge becomes a bride.
Yeah, I found that somewhere. That was you, right? And that was when?
Yeah, that was me. Goodness.
1952, is that it?
Yeah, I haven't seen that for 7 years. Oh my God. Where'd you get that?
I got it online. I got it from the New York Times.
Well, just please send me a copy. I don't have it.
Of course. Now, there was a situation where your improv turned into a dance number a couple of years ago, right? And you actually designed a special, walker that would be part of that, right?
Well, it was hand dance. I just did hand dancing because I have a knee problem.
Yeah.
So, and then I have done a little bit of dancing with my rollator, but not so recently. I danced at some weddings with my rollator.
There you go. And you actually
I
have,
had a knee injury. Thanks to a very, what do you call it, polite gentleman who I was getting into a SUV, and he decided to give me a hand, which twisted my knee.
everybody has troubles with knees, sadly. Well, so the other thing I wanted to bring up, of course, is your relationship with your children and with students. And there's a story that Mike Hawley tells about that. But do you want to say something about the relationship between students and the Marvin household, and also how you were with your own children?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, they mostly, we had a lot of students coming over, and when his class consisted only of up to about 10, 15 students, they'd meet here for their class. When it got to be 25, 35, 40 students, it was a little too much for here. The kids, Marvin would take them to MIT. I mean, like he'd pick them up. I worked full time, and or sometimes he would pick them up and just take them over to MIT, which was great. And they learned sign language. There was a guy called Ken Herenstein, something like that, who was deaf and got
Yes.
deaf meningitis.
That's Ken Herenstein, yes.
And they learned to sign with him, and they go out to, to a lunch place or get an ice cream place or something, and they would sign. So they could talk across the room. And my kids knew sign language for a long time. And then with disuse, they are not, I don't know if Julie signs still. I think you have to keep up with it.
Yes. So I don't know, sometimes you would have students living in your house too. Do you have a couple of that did?
Mike Hawley called up. Well, Marvin got this call and he said, "Oh, there's a student coming. Can we give her a place to stay?" And I said, "Sure," because we had rooms on the third floor, not an attic. It's not an attic. There are 3 rooms, and there's a bona fide third floor. So I said, "Oh, when will he be coming?" Marvin gets on the phone, "When will he be coming?" 20 minutes. So Mike Hawley came for 20 minutes. "Oh, and he has some piece of furniture." I said, "Oh," and I was thinking of a wardrobe or something. "What kind of furniture?" "Well, it's a Darth Vader table." So Mike had worked for, what's the outfit?
Films or for
Yeah,
Next?
No, Lucasfilm.
Pixar.
What?
He was at ILM maybe,
Yeah.
and also at Pixar later.
Whatever. So we had the Darth Vader table for a year with Mike Hawley. And it was great.
Yeah. Well,
Marvin, had a lot of discussions, and they were, home a lot at times together, and it was great. And I was working full time, so I really didn't get all the benefit of all that nice.
well, I benefited once or twice. I remember one time I was going to give a talk at MIT, and you said, "Well, why don't you stay here?" And in the next room over was Sylvia Earle, the famous deep sea diving celebrity, just staying at the Minsky hotel, I guess, that night. We were on the 3rd floor. The plumbing's a little questionable, but there's a big tub.
Well, there wasn't a shower. It was a tub.
I know.
There's a shower there now.
Okay. Well, okay. Anyway, there's
Great to have everybody. I mean, I was always very happy, to have people stay and be around and whatever.
so Ed Fredkin, man who invented swapping, a very exciting person. He told me a story that involved you very deeply, where you were a little skeptical of an event that was going to happen that involved all of the heroes of AI all at once. So there they were all going to fly in an airplane across the country. Oliver Selfridge and John McCarthy and Fredkin and Marvin Minsky, as I understand. And what happened? Can you tell a little bit about that?
I was taking off from an airport in California. I don't know which airport, a small airport. And I was seeing them off, so I was parked, and they were in a plane, and Ed checked. I went through all the checks that he did in the office and then out. And then they got in the plane, revved up the thing, and I noticed the plane was still attached by the springs. And that got me a little worried. Let's put it that way. So then I asked Marvin to somehow get in touch with me, or Ed to get in touch with me as they went along. And they more or less did. And they arrived in New York or wherever they were going. I guess it was New York they were coming to. And everything was safe. And then I could relax.
Yeah, well, it especially was funny to me when Ed told me the story, was that you were absolutely against this thing. And then he took you through all of the checklists. And made sure you were you knew just how careful and perfect he was going to be about it.
Right.
And then, of course.
That's right. I was skeptical about, I was really worried about their going. And then I sort of relaxed because he went through everything in great detail until he was in the plane, revving it up, and they were still attached.
Yeah. So I think at this point we should open another couple cookies and see if they have anything that reminds us of Marvin in them. So I'm going to read it before I show it, because it's hard to read it when I can't look at it. But it's hard to get these out now. Let's see. It's very important to have friends who can solve problems you can't.
Oh, yep. That's a Marvin.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting to think of a person who solves so many problems so easily as being interested in other people solving them. There's a story you tell about him fixing the telephone exchange in your hospital. Can you say a little bit about that?
Oh, that was before we were married. That was one of the attractions. That was like our second date or something. And at that point, I was very lucky because I was I was still being a house officer, but I was on a service where I wasn't on every other night and every other weekend. I was on pathology, and I was doing emergency things like, well, non-emergency things like autopsies and so on. And I'm not squeamish. I hope nobody is, that I haven't offended anybody. But anyway, so I brought Marvin over, and I was taking him through this was at Bellevue Hospital in New York. And I was taking him through the basement area, and we went by at that time they had operators, with things that plugged into you know what I mean, these old fashioned things that plugged in every place. And they were having some trouble. So he went in and of course spent a lot of time and fixed it. So he fixed one whole third of Bellevue Hospital, which was out of sync, not receiving calls, because that part of the, what do you call the thing with all the
Exchange.
Yeah.
Or the punch down, I don't know.
Yeah, that wasn't working. So after that, whose calls do you think I got? I always got a call. If Marvin called, I always got the call. If anyone else called, I sometimes got the call, or I might not get the call. They decided Marvin was it.
So we were supposed to open 3 cookies. We opened 1. I'll open 1 more and we'll move on. Maybe I'll get better at this. There.
Well, they're old and
They're old and I'm worn out. That theory just worked on pigeons and Harvard undergraduates. What's that? I've never heard this one.
no. I mean, I heard it, but not for.
So what is his point is that that Harvard undergraduates are more like pigeons than other people, or
It was some idea that he thought was trivial. I don't remember what the idea was, to be true. But it was something that somebody presented to him, and
oh, and that was his response.
well, I don't think he said that to them. But when he made a cookie,
I guess I should see if we have one more. That I hadn't heard that one before.
no, I haven't seen that in a long time.
Yeah, I have never. It's very important. Oh, that one already has been said. So let's see. Well, I think I have one more that. Let me see. I'm gonna open another one because I don't want to repeat.
Got strong teeth.
Yeah, I don't know. Not that we have to open all of them, but it's kind of interesting. I'd like to get. Okay, an ethicist is someone who sees something wrong with whatever you have in mind.
A what?
An ethicist.
Oh, a necklace. Oh, I haven't seen that for ages. My God, I'd forgotten about that.
Do you remember when he said it or why? What he was thinking about?
No, I think it was some discussion we must have had with a group of people, and that came. I don't know if he said it to them at the time, but that's what.
Uh-huh. So yeah,
Oh, I'm so
so
glad.
there's a video I'm gonna try to let's see if I can find okay. I'm gonna play a video of him talking about something that may have happened. I want to ask you if it happened before or before you or in your time frame, and that is the confocal microscope invention.
Oh, that was in my time frame.
There you go. So let me share this screen, and I'll play just a little bit of it because it's kind of interesting. It's a very recent video, actually, and yeah, let's just take a look at this.
This is called a confocal microscope, standing microscope.
Can you hear it?
I can see. For what purpose did you invent the?
Story
Is the sound?
when I was a young student at Harvard College,
It could be louder.
I wanted to understand how the nervous system worked,
I can hear a little bit.
find any good diagrams of what was going on in the human brain, or for that matter, any animal brain that did what anyone would call thinking.
They improvised things. He improvised music.
Microscopes of that day didn't have the right kind of resolution in 3 dimensions so that one could follow a single nerve fiber through part of the brain. It was very difficult to do that. And of course, to look at the piece of human brain, you would have to follow millions of nerve fibers. It would be exhausting. I was also interested in optics, and I realized that if one could make a microscope that looked at any point in a specimen from every direction instead of just, as in the ordinary microscope, looking from one side, looking at each point and with a restricted set of directions. One could follow smaller structures. So I imagined a system in which there would be two microscopes back to back facing a specimen mounted in between the two microscopes. And both microscopes would be focused on a single point inside the specimen. That meant that one could move around in 3 dimensions and scan in various ways controlled by some kind of computer. This was, I'm talking about 49 or 1948 or so. Computers weren't generally available, but it was pretty clear that you could do this sort of thing by making some kind of specialized analog hardware. So I made this, which is 2 microscopes back to back, and here's a magnet that moves the specimen from left to right, and here's another magnet that can move the specimen up and down. You can't see that very much, but of course, when we're talking about brain cells, we're talking about things that are the size of 1,000th of an inch.
So anyway, that's probably enough of that. What I
Thank you for that.
yeah, well, so that I guess I wanted to move on to just talking about entertainment, education, and discovery being kind of what 3 things that I think of when I think of your house and your family and you, Gloria. Is there any story or thought you want to add to that? Maybe about something that somebody brought over or said to you at one of the parties, or you watched people talk about?
You brought a dirigible over once. Initially, I was afraid it was going to break something, but then I settled down and enjoyed it. It was quite something.
So I got a lot of fun out of, maybe people know me for changing topics, but if you change the topic with Gloria and Marvin, they would jump right in and you'd have this fun time. So what I see, the dirigible was a remote controlled dirigible, and I see a parrot next to you on the left, on your right there. And that parrot, the green parrot, I think might be the one I brought over. I brought over a parrot that would wag its arms and repeat whatever you said.
Oh, that's upstairs.
So that's upstairs. Yeah. So there's a real parrot that's how many years old upstairs?
Around 50. And we've had her since she was 5 years old.
Wow. So anyway, I like this parrot too. But anyway, I brought over this parrot because I thought, Marvin was kind of saying robotics is just often very simplifying. And, for $19, I could buy a robot that was basically could do everything a parrot you think of as a parrot doing. It'd wag its arms and repeat what you said. And so that seemed to stay in your front lobby for a while, although this one seems.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm not going to interfere anymore. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Yes. So and there's always some play, right?
There are always some.
Yeah. So one story you tell that I want you kind of to say a little bit about is what Yo-Yo Ma came to ask you a question. Do you want to say something about that? The celloist,
Yes,
celloist, yeah.
it was out, this was out in California. And I think it's something about marriage. And, you know, I can't really remember. It was something like, how do you stay married so long? Or something like that. It was a surprising question.
What was it like being married to Marvin?
What?
What was it like being married to Marvin?
Oh, what was it like being married to Marvin? That was the question.
And what did you say?
I'm trying to remember what I said. It was either something very banal, like great, or it was very clever when I can't remember.
The one I remember you saying was, it's hard to summarize.
That, thank you very much. I think that's what I said.
Yeah. And then Jerry Letfin, who
Remember it. How do you remember it? I said it. You remember it. Wow. I'm impressed. Thank you.
Gloria, when you there's some, I like to hear the things you have to say. There's a story I heard Julia and you talking about, where Jerry Letfin, who really figured out that how the eye works in a frog, which is an amazing thing. It actually has fly detectors that give the signal back to the brain from the eye that there's a fly by the speed it's going. Fascinating paper from the 50s, or maybe even.
He should have gotten a prize. He didn't get one. Well, anyway.
It's a thank you. I think so. I never talked to him about it, but it was a major topic. Michael Arbib talked about.
The paper is what the frog's eye says to the frog's brain.
There you go. Yes. So what was the deal with him and his salamanders?
And his what?
Salamanders. Supposedly there were some strange salamanders in your house.
Well, they had legs coming from where you didn't expect. And I don't remember all the story of the salamanders. They were very unusual, and I had great respect for the person who developed them. And we played with them. They didn't live so long. And I was working full time and stuff. So I really wasn't into everything that happened in the greenhouse, which was Marvin's domain. And that's where it all happened.
Yeah.
Salamanders, ducks. We had ducks there for a while.
And then I guess Danny Hillis tells a story about discovering one of your skeletons in the basement, but he also may have carved something into the basement wall. What was this?
He carved a fossil.
He made a new.
It's one of the things that I didn't let them plaster over. So we have a fossil recently, a Hillis created fossil in the basement wall, which is great. And we still have a couple of skeletons. We had two, and I brought one to one of the elementary schools that was studying muscle stuff and everything. And sadly, it disappeared. So I only have one skeleton now. One skeleton in the closet.
Was it from when you were a medical student, or is it from...
Sad to say. I mean, it was something that was in Marvin's father's collection. And I remember, when I brought it to school, I said to the custodian that I knew there, I said, please don't let, it was going to be left in one of the rooms overnight because the class the next day another class was going to study it. I said, please don't that anything happened to this, it belonged to my father-in-law. And then I heard this guy say to one of the other custodians, my God, couldn't let the poor man alone.
Um,
One skeleton, the other one unfortunately did get taken.
yeah. So there was a lot of people in your life that turned out to you know, we were his oops, what is going on? Be you know, famous. Terry Winograd, Raj Reddy, Roger Schenck, they were all students, and Danny Bobrow, Ken Kahn. Do you want to say anything about one or the other of some of the people that were
They were
around?
great. Danny Bobrow, I got to know better than others. Ken Kahn a bit. Terry Winograd, I did not get to know very well, you know, get to know him a bit, but I think he went out to California before we had all those parties and things. And who else did you met? There was
Raj Reddy.
Raj Reddy, not a few times, but Marvin, it seemed to me that Marvin went to Pittsburgh more than Raj came here.
So yeah, and anyway, there was yeah, there was a lot. I mean, certainly Push Singh spent a lot of time. He was
Push was definitely one of Marvin's proteges, and that whole thing with Push is so really sick.
yeah. Well, okay. I think I just want to ask you is I'm what I want to do as a last thing, but is maybe we should I don't know if we want to if there's another story you want to tell, or if there's a I could open another cookie, but then I also have a little video I want to end with.
Well, why don't you do that? I think
We've done enough of this then. Okay.
And we want to hear from some of the friends who are listening.
one more cookie. That would be it.
Okay, one more cookie, and we do have another half hour. We can ask questions. So I hope we can fill it up with all these interesting people that have come. As you know, Gloria, a lot of people that know you are in the audience. So
good.
here I am opening this up, and it says, "How do you know that you know that?" Oh, that's a lovely one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
That's something that yeah, I really that he would ask these questions. How can you think about anything without, how can you think about thinking without thinking about something?
Yeah, that was more, I think.
Yeah, but I would hear him say it sometimes too. But yes. Okay, well, let me end with now this e.g. you went to maybe 9 different versions of Mike Hawley's party, right? And here is they were setting up the stage one day, and I'm gonna turn on the sharing first, and I'm gonna just play a couple minutes of it, and then we'll get to some questions. Okay. Let's see. And you all see this, I hope. And I will play it.
Perfect. Thanks, man. I think it's just going to put it back in the hall after this.
It's a spacesuit there.
You love that.
What you need it for? I just want to dress up the bottom of this tread. Yes, we have some new. Okay, no, it's good. I got exactly what I need. You do? Oh, the tread. Yeah. Come on back down.
That's the best part. The when he taps the
No, yeah.
Pat's the nice piano. I mean, and I guess I want to, you had 9 pianos in your house, right?
1, 2, 3.
Okay, only 3 now.
Organ.
And
And
an
2
organ, 2 organs, and a couple of keyboards.
Oh, yeah. Well, we still have, yeah. Well, the Moog disappeared. We have a tuba that got frozen, so it doesn't
Yeah.
work. Now we have an accordion. That came from Rockaway when I closed the house. And I don't remember who played.
There's a Kurzweil.
What?
There's a
Kurzweil keyboard.
Kurzweil.
Yeah, and of course Kurzweil was a friend,
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
of course.
and Ray Kurzweil was over there often, I think, right?
Oh, sometimes. Yeah, not often, but he was over.
I guess I wanted just to ask one more question about the pianos. When you guys would travel, how common was it for Marvin to find a piano and play it?
I called him the piano detective. Any piano. I remember if we went to clinic at, we had occasionally went to a clinic at, what do we call it? Hospital here, not Mass General, Brigham. And there was a piano in the waiting room, and Marvin always found that to play. And then the best one was in Prague. We had lunch at a place, and we finished Marvin finished a little earlier than about 3 others. There was another couple, and there was a piano. So Marvin immediately went over and played the piano. And after he was playing, there was a couple that came over and asked him to play at their wedding. I think he was saying yes. But we were leaving the next day, and he would have, honestly, he would have, but we were leaving the next day, so he couldn't. And their wedding was like in 2 months or something.
Oh, but it's still an honor.
But that's so nice.
So I see Whitfield Diffie said, surely the pigeons at Harvard undergraduates was a comment about Skinner, which I think is that's a very thoughtful point. I'm sure you're right, Whitfield.
Yeah, I forgot. Marvin did work with Skinner. I don't know how long.
But long enough to want to make a Skinner box for your children, you've told me.
Oh, yeah. I think once we had children, he forgot about that.
Good. So I want to open this up to see who wants to say anything. Maybe somebody wants to ask a question of Gloria or make a comment about any of these cookies. I can open another one as soon as we get bored.
Ted, you should be able to, I don't think I can, but you should be able to recognize any of the people who's in the audience.
Yes.
And give them audio for sure, if not.
Sure.
video.
I don't see any open questions, and anybody that wants to put on the chat they're interested in speaking, I would open it up, open the mic for you. So I don't see that.
Okay.
But certainly, while one of you guys thinks of a question you want to ask, I'm going to open another cookie.
Or somebody might have a story to tell.
Yes, of course. Any of that is good.
Yeah.
So it says, don't just do something, stand there.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
That's my favorite.
Yeah. What do you remember when you first heard this, Gloria?
Well, we had the cookies made up. No, I don't remember when I first heard it.
It's kind of a fun
I
story.
remember it. And Marvin had all these things he had written down. And I think I saw it when it was written down before it became a cookie. But
So
I remember a lot of them now in retrospect before they were cookies. But I remember them better when they were cookies.
We loved that one as kids, because imagine a kid hearing that. How fun is that?
Julie, it's great to have you here. Do you want to just think of one little addition you want to make? Or I guess you just did, but if there's anything else you wanted to ask or say, I'd be interested.
Well, there is one thing that sometimes I look back on things and think that I misinterpreted them all my life. And there was a story about that was told over and over about us as me and my brother as kids, and something about the volume of something or other. And one of us said, go ask the other one, they have conservation when we
Yes.
were kids. And so,
Yeah,
and now, what?
yes,
Yeah, and that was sort of a legendary story in the family, because we were, it's very sort of, it's
Right.
just funny. So these things that we had been, we got to test drive all kinds of paradoxes and thinking games as very young children, and it was so fun.
right.
And then stories like that, and sometimes I look back and think, maybe we actually knew more than they gave us credit for. we were pulling their leg, but I don't know.
That Gilbert Voyat, who had worked with Piaget, came. He stayed here. He had a sort of accident because he did something at MIT in the media lab or in the AI lab, and he did something. He crawled. And for some reason, he was crawling between the two ceilings, and he fell and he hurt himself. But otherwise, he was it was great. And he came and he was testing you and Henry, and put water in a same amount of water in a higher cylinder, a narrower, higher cylinder, less diameter, and so was it this question? Is it the same? And I think it was Henry who said, "I'm not sure. Ask Julie. She has conservation."
There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, well, one thing Julie told me just yesterday that I thought was really delightful is you guys, like a lot of families now, are doing a lot of Zoom, regular Zoom and conversations to keep yourselves connected. And, a lot of us just chat, but my understanding is that you guys actually play games in your Zoom calls. Do you
Yeah.
want to say
They were
something?
originated by Julie. Julie is a great leader, really, and she originates these wonderful games. And they're you ought to join sometime. Just come in, and they're paper and pencil games, thinking games, whatever. It's great.
Mhm.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah. So,
I just got 2 amazing photos from RT, is it Mercury? Who, and I have them. I wonder if, should I try to
Yeah,
share
why don't
them?
you
These
just,
are quite incredible. He just sent them over by email during this. He's
Send it over.
can you share them? Maybe you
yeah,
can
how do I, let me see if I can do
share
it.
screen at the bottom.
Do I have permission? Oh my gosh, I do. It's like one,
Yeah,
okay,
rarely works. Yes, I know. But I
let's see.
don't, so there we are.
There.
Oh, there we.
Can you see these?
Yes, John Nash.
There.
John Nash. Wow.
Marvin looks wonderful there. Oh my goodness.
That's a really,
Doesn't look quite as, and I don't know now who is standing in the middle.
If we enlarge it, we might be able to read her name
I
badge.
don't think so. It's pretty, but
No,
what I-
Alicia is sitting next to Nash on
so
Nash's.
what I find interesting about this picture with you in the orange jacket there, or coat, I must say,
It's
is
still
that,
same one.
yeah, that I'm used to seeing you also in a fishing jacket like
Oh, yeah.
Mark's wearing. And do you want to say something about what you guys, why you wore fishing jackets all the time and what you were putting in the pockets?
Oh, well, pockets. What do you put in pockets?
Well, if you're Marvin, you probably put Leatherman tool and a camera and
He had his little tools on a thing that fitted over in his belt. So he had a whole little thing. Can't see it. It's probably further in or in the side that is covered. You can see his pockets are bulging. There are all sorts of things. My God,
There was a whole laptop on the inside. There's a big inside pocket, and there was a whole
right.
laptop in there all the time. The whole, yep. There was where's the comment that says where? Let's see. Sorry, let me find it.
My fishing jackets are usually without sleeves.
yes, fishing vest.
Vest, yeah, they were more vests. Marvin's was a jacket, and he loved it. He wore it all the time. Oh, he's wearing a tie there.
Oh
I
my,
think the tie he made. I think he knitted ties. He needed it. We were at a meeting once in someplace in Davos, in Europe, and you needed a tie for some evening thing. And he always had rope with him. He always carried 2 or 3 grades of rope, a suitcase wherever he went. So he took the sort of narrow rope, and in an hour, within half an hour, he knitted a tie, and we had a tie. I still have that tie.
So I think
And then there was string that went around your neck and came through a little loop.
wow.
So that's how it fitted. The other tie he made was out of a dollar bill. He made a bow tie. We painted it black, and we had a formal tie for some damn thing in New York.
Well, that's great. All right. Well,
Am I still audio? I can't
stop
see.
sharing now.
Oh, I was going to say that Rebecca Mercury says, I don't know the person in the middle. I took these photos at the 2012 Music, Mind, and Invention Conference at the College of New Jersey. Oh, that's fantastic. I wish I'd been there, but that was supposed to be a very wonderful conference with, and now I can't remember the name of the wonderful person who put that on, but we'll work on that.
Oh,
Yeah,
it was,
exactly.
yes.
Yeah. It's okay.
Oh,
Whatever it was.
she's a professor at,
Marin. Her last name was Marin.
yeah, exactly. Okay, those are wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing those photos,
Yeah.
both of them.
And
Really nice picture of Marvin with
Teresa Marin Nakra. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
okay. So I think with that, we are back to the living room.
Wow.
And, I will stop sharing now, but it's a lovely living room you get to be in. And
It hasn't gotten messed up.
oh, I don't know. The messes are a lot of fun too. I once brought a 6-inch grinder into that living room, and we sat and sharpened knives for a while. So you probably didn't have to watch that, but
I sort of vaguely remember, but
in any case.
I remember the dirigible. That was the best.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, in any case, everyone, I think that this is the conclusion of the evening, and thank you so much for being here, and Gloria and Nancy. If there's anything you want to say about next month's meeting, you can say it now, or people can find it on bakehigh.org.
I'll just say, and then if Smita really wants to give more details, I'll be happy to let her do that. But we're going to do part 2 of a multi-part series irregularly about AI and UX. Some of it. This is a second.
AI and user experience.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's a very interesting topic right now, as AI is really in everything, and people are thinking about the experience, and they're also thinking about the ethics. So it's a topic a lot of people are thinking about, Gloria.
And so we're trying to introduce as many different facets of it as we can, rather than just have one meeting, because we keep finding more people having interesting comments from different perspectives that we can pair up. So that's why we're going to do another meeting and perhaps a third, and we'll see after that how far it goes. Mike Worth asked in the chat how we're going to distribute the recording. And Mike, what you should know, and everybody else, tell your friends, is that it's already live on the Bekai YouTube station or channel. And we also will have the window of its living on YouTube in our calendar entry for this particular meeting on bekai.org. So that'll be up in a day or two, probably. So yes, you can tell everybody to look at it at bekai.org for this calendar date.
And actually, this last cookie had a similar topic, but the point is that it's about AI and user interface, which
Yeah.
we will be maybe subservient to the computers, and
If we're lucky, they'll keep us as pets.
that's it.
Yep.
So with that, everybody, I want to bid you an
That's
evening.
your thought and mine.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you so much for taking the time, Gloria. We really
Oh, thank you. It was fun. I like to stay up for things like this.
well, and Computer History Museum is asked specifically to get their hands on the video of it.
Where's the Computer History Museum now?
It's in a building that used to be occupied by Silicon Graphics, right at
In Mountain View.
in
Mountain View.
yeah, in Mountain View. So it's a big, beautiful building, and it's on right next to the freeway. So a lot fancier than it was when it was in Boston.
Yeah.
But yes, that's where it is.
Well, maybe we'll get out there when things get normal.
We'd love to have you anytime.
Yeah.
Oh, why be normal?
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank
bye.
you.
Great fun.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming.